Hey everyone, Kyle Mike here from MLive.com. Joined by Justin Rogers. Week one's in the books after a Saturday morning scrimmage in Allen Park. Good day from the first string offense, Justin, but not much from the second and third units offensively. I know you were impressed with what you saw on the depth with the defense.
Yeah, I kind of want to give the second and third team offense like a pass at some level because there's a lot of moving parts there. It's hard for a quarterback to get used to new offensive linemen, new receivers. Yeah. I talked to Dan Orlovsky after practice today, and he just said sometimes you're just trying things to see if you can fit it into a window with a receiver that you haven't maybe worked with before, kind of compared to a guy in spring training working on his curveball and maybe getting hammered, but he's working on something specifically. But what we do see is, as you mentioned, the depth on the defensive line, in the secondary, the linebackers, a lot of those groups are coming back. They're familiar and comfortable in the scheme, and that really shows. Devin Taylor had another very good practice, a sack and a half. Larry Webster got in there for a sack today. Linebacking group is very deep. As we know, Kyle Van Noy kind of tidied up some of his past coverage issues that he had earlier in the week. He had 2 pass breakups in the scrimmage today. So, I feel a lot more confident with the defense having a piece go down and somebody stepping in to fill the gap like they did last year when guys like Fairley and Tulloch went down. Yeah,
we saw a lot of pressure too from the defensive line. I think you have to like that, especially from Devin Taylor and Larry Webster. I thought those guys were pretty good when you're talking about the reserve units. And also we saw some first team work from Phillip Hunt, which was a little maybe surprising, but maybe a sign he's emerging as a guy who could factor into the rotation there. I was really impressed, Justin, with what I saw from the first string offense. And I talked to a lot of people about Stafford, including Darius Slay and James Ahedibo, Glover Quinn. To a man, all these guys talk about how accurate Stafford's been and how much he's grown in his look-offs. And that's really, it's caused some problems for the first-string defense. And as we know, it's a pretty good defense with a secondary that returns intact. But, Stafford's got a few more tricks, I think, up his sleeve now that he's more comfortable in the offense. And he also has receivers who know what they're doing. That point has gone underset, I think, over the past year. But we've heard so much about the offense coming together in year 2, and I think we're starting to see some signs of that because 2 touchdown drives in 4 attempts for the offense. Stafford was 17 of 27 passing by my count, and that's with 3 incompletions at the end with situational clock stuff. 9 of 10 on one drive in particular with 4 completions to Eric Ebron, one of which was a touchdown. So I think you have to like the chemistry that you see from the offense. It does seem to be coming together. You do see some chemistry, I think, between Stafford and Ebron, which would be a huge development, just to get some kind of option behind Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate. I thought a really good day from the offense.
Yeah, 5 receptions, I believe, today for Ebron. He did a lot of work where I think he's going to be most effective. Tight end screens, quick outs, drags across the formation, at a shallow depth where he can utilize his speed, either getting open, getting separation on linebacker, or taking the ball immediately and doing the work himself in the open field where I think, he's probably most lethal. Beautiful pass, touchdown pass to Calvin Johnson today. I mean, Stafford just laid it in there. You've seen a lot better touch from him this year. Is he suddenly going to be Aaron Rodgers or Peyton Manning? No, he's not. That's just not the quarterback he is. But he's taking steps, progressing in that intermediate range and touch. And I guess I can't say enough with how well he's performing right now. I think. We talk about it every year. Is this the year Stafford takes a step forward? Is this year Stafford takes a step forward? Yeah, he took a step forward last year. It was a different kind of step in being protective of the football. But the accuracy seems like it could take a nice leap forward this year based on what we've seen this offseason and in particular training camp.
Yeah, you see the bullets. James Ahedibo talked about how he's looking. He has his arm strength is as strong as he's seen it, which is kind of scary. But yeah, you do see the touch as well. We saw actually an incomplete pass to Calvin Johnson, but he put just the right amount of air underneath it, and it was in a spot where only Calvin could get it. Rasheed Mathis made a nice play at the end to bat it away. But yeah, it's just we've seen more touch, more work from Stafford in that way. And again, with the guys I talked to, the biggest thing they said, I asked about we keep hearing all this stuff about Stafford and how he's better. How is he actually better? And the thing is, like with the comfort, he can do these lookaways. He knows where his guys are going to be. He has the confidence they're going to be there, so he doesn't have to stare them down. And it makes that the job of the secondary that much more difficult. And you can see guys getting open. Like a guy like Lance Moore, a great play today, helped set up a touchdown. Deep crossing pattern, looked off him, made some separation and hit Lance Moore over the middle on a 3rd and long to pick up the first down, scored a touchdown a few plays later. It's plays like that. I talked to Lance Moore. He said it was a good play. I didn't do anything. I'm just running. And Stafford he created the separation for me with the look away. And I think that's an encouraging sign from him.
Yeah, it was a 3rd and 21. They had been pushed back because of a holding call and then a false start on the offensive line. And that was a 30-yard pickup that put them at the 10-yard line. I mean, those are, in a real game, plays that are back-breaking to a defense, ended up setting up the Ebron touchdown.
There were a ton of penalties on that drive, and the drives like that are dead. And Stafford just wouldn't miss. He was 9 of 10 on that possession and had the touchdown pass. It was a nice recovery from him.
Yeah, we saw how good Golden Tate was last year. That hasn't changed, but going back to Calvin Johnson, something we talked about earlier this week, he's healthy. It's very clear he's healthy. He looks fantastic the way he's moving. Somebody asked me about it yesterday. I couldn't tell the difference between Calvin now and Calvin 3 years ago. He looks that good. To have both those weapons and to have Ebron emerging as a trusted receiver, Lance Moore, even Corey Fuller. I know he had a rough day yesterday. I thought he bounced back nicely today. The weapons are there, and it's going to make the job easier for Stafford. And every one of those backs can catch that. Theo Riddick hauled in a wheel route over his shoulder today on 3rd down.
That was a hell of a catch.
Very difficult catch. Yeah. Amir Abdullah is a receiver. George Wynn has made progress as a receiver. We know Joik Bell can catch. He has so many weapons at his disposal that that's only going to help him as he's comfortable in the offensive scheme.
I mean, I was asking Ron about Ebron and Stafford and their chemistry, and I was told basically that that's how it's supposed to work when you have Calvin and Tate on the field. When you have Calvin and Tate on the outside posts, you're going to get a lot of single coverage on the inside seam. That's why you get a guy like Ebron, because when he's in single coverage, he's going to be a physical mismatch for any linebacker that he's going to see in there, and you can exploit that if he knows what he's doing, and we have seen that to an extent. And I think that's of all the signs that we see that this offense may be turning a corner, maybe that's, to me, the most encouraging to this point, is that Ebron knows what he's doing. He's in the right spots. He's making plays consistently. I thought outside of Stafford, he was the offense's best player today.
Yeah, where he's had problems with drops, not just this week, but total is deep down the middle parts of the field. Those are difficult catches. You're worried about a lot more in terms of traffic, about hits. You're often twisting your body in weird angles, and you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to stretch the field as a tight end, but he can make a living on these short passes where he's doing a lot of work after the catch. I don't know, a lot of promise today. I think the catch that really separated him today was Darryl Tapp got back there on a screen pass designed for Ebron, and Tapp got it. He tipped it, and Ebron had the concentration still not only pull it down, but have awareness of what was happening around him, and to pick up a nice chunk of yardage after the reception. It's just a really promising sign in general for the offense.
Yeah, the first string offense was very good. We touched on it before, but the second and third string offense is, if Kellen Moore or Dan Orlovsky start a game for the Lions this year, they are in trouble. Turn off your televisions, because it was unsightly. It was bad. Orlovsky, I believe, had 2 interceptions. Kellen Moore had 1. And that's going against second and third string defenses. The Lions defense is very good, but still you expect more out of your second and third team offense, I think, to some degree, particularly at this point in camp. And they didn't get it, and they struggled. And I think Kellen Moore was the number 2 today, ahead of Dan Orlovsky, but I'm not sure that. I know some people will be happy to hear that, but again, it's all irrelevant. If Stafford's not your guy, this offense is going to be in trouble.
100% agree. I do expect that competition to continue throughout the preseason. I think Kellen Moore is going to get some second-team reps in preseason game, maybe as soon as the Jets game based on the scrimmage today. But you put them with the first-team offense, they're going to do better than they did today. If they're throwing to Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate, you're naturally going to be a better quarterback. But those guys just don't handle pressure very well in the pocket. That Moore interception was terrible. The Orlovsky interception came on tip, but he put another one right in a guy's chest. So, Stafford played 64 straight, I think.
Yeah.
You're gonna want him to keep that streak going.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. We'll wrap up this video with
I'll edit it.
It's the end of the first week. Justin, who's your week 1 MVP, if you will? Who's the guy who stood out the most to you?
That is on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's really lame, but it's Calvin.
Yeah,
Calvin.
I agree. You can be lame.
He looks like Calvin old. I'm not exaggerating there. He's made unbelievable catches. He's shown unnecessary effort in diving for passes. He looks fantastic, and I think that's kind of trickled down and made the whole offense look good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to get fancy here. He's been the best player. He had the play of the week. On that catch along the sideline there that we saw yesterday, I believe it was, and just hasn't. I don't think he's dropped a pass. He's going up against Rasheed Mathis, who had a pretty good year last year, and poor Rasheed Mathis is just getting beat because Calvin catches everything, even when Rasheed Mathis is in his grill. Those matchups are fun to watch because it's two veterans going at it and know what they're doing, and it's always pretty close. But Calvin's just so great that he comes down with it often. But I think nice weeks also from Darius Slay. I think he's looking real good. Amir Abdullah. I think we've seen more improvement from Karan Reed. I like what I saw from him in 101s. Good. I think a good week for a lot of the guys that we've been talking about throughout the offseason.
And one guy kind of, I don't want to say buried early in early in training camp, but I think Tyron Walker's come on pretty strong. What I've realized is you have to get out of the mindset that you're not watching Ndamukong Suh, you're not watching Nick Fairley more, you're watching a different defensive tackle, and you have to judge him on his skill set. That guy is strong, and he uses his bull-like strength to create things. He had a tip pass today, he had a sack. He's just a force when he gets his hands into the chest of the offensive lineman, and I think I'm coming around on the fact that he can be an impact player on that defensive line.
When he gets some momentum, get out the way because he's a force. I agree. He just creates some havoc once he because he's a little slow off the ball. We've talked about that throughout the week, but once he gets moving, there's no stopping him because he's just a physical force. He's just a big man.
I talked to him today, and he just said everything I've been told is wrong in my technique and other teams is what we do here. It's what's right. And so that adjustment mentally for him, I think, has been slow coming. But now as he's getting it, he's really starting to wreak some havoc.
A lot of new faces on the defensive line. But Terrell Austin said this week that he was confident they would still get the job done, just maybe in a different way. And I think maybe he's speaking to something like that. Just a different style of what we're accustomed to. But we saw some disruption from the defensive line today.
Yeah, I think the run defense is still going to be very good as well.
That's it for week 1 of training camp. We're off tomorrow. We'll still be working, but we'll be off here. We'll be back on Monday morning for week 2. For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Menke. We are MLive. Keep it right here.